Greetings, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service. And we're going to be tying a custom tieds version of the olive Semper using natural materials. The hook is a Gamakatsu SL12S in a 6/0. The tail is olive bucktail and red bucktail. And then there's black saddle, olive saddle, some flash, some black ostrich, and some olive ostrich, and then some Grizzly olive saddle, and there's a rattle in it. It's a Rattlin pattern, and the rattle is a Hareline medium rattle encased in easy body, and there's a tutorial in this page that tells you how to do that. So without further ado, we're going to get mounted up. Here's our Gamakatsu 6/0 SL12S. I'm using Danville Flymaster 210 denier in olive. I'm going to tie in about a quarter of the way down the shank. Get myself thread base here. All right, here we go. Well, the first thing that's going to go on here is your red bucktail. And for this fly, I use spring-loaded scissors. I like to use those when I'm working with bucktail. Get me a little clump off the side of the tail. I'm going to pull the shorties out. And I'm going to try to even those tips up a little bit. Now this should be about 1/8 of an inch thick or so. And you're going to put that right on the top of the shank. And you're going to take a couple of loose wraps. And you're going to just let that flow around the hook shank. Then take a couple of tighter wraps. You want to make sure that it's kind of evenly distributed around the hook shank. And that didn't work. Try again. Sometimes that happens. What they say happens to the best of us. And my loose wraps. I'm just going to let that distribute. Kind of encourage it with my fingers. Check. Oh, there we go. A nice even distribution. And I want to push this tail fibers down past the bend. Because I want to make sure that they're not stuck up inside the bug. I want them to be on the bottom. If they want to splay out like that on you, it's okay to take a couple of wraps to keep them from doing that. Oh, that's much better. All right. Then I'm going to take a little head cement, put that on there. All right. First, your black saddle. This is a Ewing saddle, dyed black. You want to pick something that's long and full and has a good tip on it, like those two. See how long and full they are, and they both got good tips. You're going to put them on one at a time. The fly is 6.5 inches long, so I've marked that on my vise. It's there on my knurl knob. Take a couple of loose wraps to get yourself seated. And then wrap big back to the tail, bucktail, and wrap big back up to the front. You can put your other one in, same way. Now these are shiny side in so that they splay out. Big wraps. Okay. From that off of there. Just broke the thread there. All right. One shot of head cement. And then olive bucktail. I get these large northern bucktails from Hareline. They're really nice. Shorties out. Hey, I got a little bit too much. Get those ends trimmed up. You might have to tap them with your finger to line them up. Sometimes they slip. And you want to do the same thing here. Just let them, encourage them with your thumb and your index finger to distribute around the hook shank. And then big wraps. And once you get it set, then you can tighten it up. Next is your olive. And you're looking for essentially the same thing with your olive saddles. And you can use saddles or Schlappen. Depends on how, I guess, fluffy you want the bug. I like saddles for these. And you're going to do the same. You're going to do the same thing with this. Shiny side in, even those up. Big wraps. Okay. Another shot of head cement. Next is your rattle. You want your thread to be all the way back at that crook there. Lay the rattle on. You see it's got a little curve to it. I'm going to lay that down so that curve points down. Okay, you're going to pick this up. Get a couple wraps behind it. Give that a shot of head cement. Next is your ostrich. And I get my ostrich from Rumpf. You want to make sure you got good long curls off of the plume. You're going to need 6 black and 6 olive. Here's my 6 black. I'm going to take my 6 olive. And you're just going to, I put mine on my leg. Just so I can, you know, kind of make sure they're evened up. And then I only have, see, that time I got 3. So your first set of 2 olives and 2 blacks goes on the top. And then you're going to split them so you get 1 olive and 1 black on either side of the rattle. You can roll it over. You got 2 olive and 2 black on the far side. Two olive and 2 black on the near side. Okay, and then I take my thread and I go behind once, and that just kind of gathers everything up and keeps it flowing behind. All right. Next is going to be your flash. Now, whether you put the flash in before or after the olive or the ostrich, it doesn't really matter. On some of them, I put it in before I put the ostrich in. Some of them I don't. You're going to want 8 strands. And this I'm using, this is Hedron Flashybou in holographic olive. Just fold it in half and even the tips up. And roll your bug over. Little pinch wraps here. And then gather these up. Pull them to you. That wasn't part of the plan. To you. And then just lay them down the side. Okay. Little head cement. And then your grizzlies. Grizzlies show the lateral line on the fly. So you don't want these real thick. You just gotta make sure that they're as long as the rest of them. And these go shiny side out. Trim those off. Make sure everything is good and tied in. Run your thread forward. Whip. All right, and then once you got that whipped, I'm going to paint that with head cement generously. You got to make these bugs really tough because GTs that you're going to chase with these things they're not little fish and they're not weak fish. All right, and you're going to let that sit off to dry. Fun part, you're going to make like a dubbing loop, only you're going to make it with Marabou. So get tied in. Let me get these out of the way. Okay, so like I said, you're going to make a dubbing loop with the Marabou. So what you're going to need is some kind of little cardboard type piece like this. This is the top off of an EP fiber, but it opens up and then you can lay your Marabou inside, close it, and then you can grab your Marabou with your clip. So I'm going to show you that here in a second. First is your olive. So I'm using strung olive, but you can use strung olive, you can use blood quills, you can use, extra select, because you're going to clip these down the sides of the stem. Get a few out. What I ought to do is seal a seam ripper from my missus. That way I have a seam ripper. Okay, so I got my Marabou feather. I'm going to find the point of it, just like I would for soft hackle. I'm just going to rake these down so that they stand out away from the stem. I got a pair of 5-inch barber scissors, and I'm going to cut that down the side. I'm going to grab that up. I'm going to put it on my paper so that the ends are sticking out, and you can't see that, and there's no way I can include it in the frame. I'm sorry. Just keep clipping and laying. You're going to do that with 3 or 4. See, these are dyed over white, so I'm trimming the white part off that's on the bottom here. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to close the paper. And that's what I was telling you about. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my clip and clip it to the ends, and then just take it out of the paper. Now I'm going to make my dubbing loop. First thing I'm going to do is wax it. So I got some beeswax here. You can use, loon wax or whatever you want to use. I'm partial to beeswax. You want to make sure that your loop is long enough should be about 8 inches long. You're going to flip I'll probably better show you that a little closer. So here I lay my thread across, I take a couple wraps back across itself, and then I'm going to wrap around the loop so I can close the top of the loop off, and then take a couple more wraps. And I got my dubbing twister tool from Griffin, and I'm just going to sit that down here for a second. I'm going to come forward a couple half hitches, I'm going to swing my bobbin cradle over. Put my dubbing loop up. I'm going to take my Marabou and put it in the loop. And then I'm going to let it go. And the weight of the dubbing twister tool will keep the loop closed on top of the Marabou. And then I'm going to make another section of Marabou. So you're going to need about, I don't know, 5 inches of Marabou or so for the first, for the olive and for the black. So you got all these little Marabou fibers flying all over the place. Make sure you clean up after yourself when you got all these Marabou fibers flying all over the place, because, you know, they will go all over your house. They will get in your food. They will get on your pets. They will get in your shoes. You'll end up hauling them all over the place, and that's even if you do clean up after yourself. Let me get one more Marabou feather out of here. There we go. It's giving me a hard time. All right. Okay, so that gives you 2 more inches. So you got your clip. Fold your paper over. Take your clip. Okay, and then gently open your dubbing loop. You don't want to strum it, because then your Marabou fiber will go everywhere and you have to start all over again. All right. And you pull some tension on it, and then give yourself, I give myself like 10 or 11 twists. See how that turns into a brush real nice. Okay, now because it's so long, I put a pair of hackle pliers on it and trim that off. I can put my thingamabob over here out of the way, and then I'm going to just turn these on. And rake them back out of the way as I go. Out of the way. Get 3 turns here. Right. Rake those back. Notice I lick my fingers. You can use a dip bowl. A lot of people use a dip bowl because I probably ought to use a dip bowl. I've always just licked my fingers, but you got chemicals and dyes and stuff on these Marabous. Maybe licking your fingers isn't the best idea. But I'll be 56 tomorrow, and I don't really give a crap. Live this long doing it. Okay. Bring your thread back in to right up against the Marabou. Give yourself a shot of head cement. And now it's time to go to the black ones. And you're going to do the same thing with the black. Trim it down the side of the stem, put it in your paper, fold it over, put it in the dubbing loop. Yeah, folded it over my paper. I've got my clip. Just put my clip right on the end there. There we go. And I'm going to make my dubbing loop. Bring it all the way down here. Cover it with wax. Bring it up. Close the loop off. Bring it forward. Get my 2 half hitches. Bobbin cradle over. Gently open my loop. Put my first piece of Marabou in. Close my loop. Let it go. Let my bobbin, my dubbing twister tool go down and let it hang naturally. This is my second piece of black. This one does not need to be as wide as the first one. So I guess what I'm saying is the black rope doesn't need to be as long as the olive rope did. Open my loop up gently. Try not to strum the thread. Okay. And give it a twist. Give it a pull. Let's see if we can do this without, I mean, you can. There. Without putting the hackle pliers on it. Sure you can. It's a matter of choice and preference. A lot of stuff in fly tying is a matter of choice and preference. You know? I mean, folks have been doing stuff for so long, they prefer this over that. I mean, we're definitely in a new age of fly tying where, you got all these synthetic materials out there, and you got all these visual aids for people that are just starting out. When I first started out, there were magazine articles and books with pencil drawings in them. That was it. Every now and again, you run across, you go to a TU meeting and they're doing some kind of tie-in demonstration. But, if you live out in the sticks or you're 12, TU is maybe not an option for you. Maybe your girlfriend's dad is a tire, and he'll loan you some of his stuff and spend some time with you. Maybe your dad is an avid tire. I mean, you just, you pick things up. All right. Get the red on here. And these red ones are really long, so I think I'm going to trim the ends before I clip them. Okay. So I was going to say, I said about trimming the ends before I clip them. So I'm just going to trim these straight across. And then I clip them. So I'm going to get my dubbing loop going here. And my wax. And my loop. My spinner. My half hitches. Then for the red, you just need one, like 2-inch rope. Uh-oh. Yep. All right. And if it comes up short, you know, you can always add some. But I don't think it's going to come up short. What's wrong? No, it's all right. Go. And give yourself a whip finish. I got some Marabou stuck under there. Just pull that out of the way. All right. Comb it back. Oh, yeah. All right. Put some UV resin on here to seal this nose up. And if you get some resin on those little fibers, you can just pick the fibers off. It's no big deal. See? Might have to change the batteries out in my light here. Okay, that's better. There you have it. CT Rattlin Olive Semper with natural materials. I hope this tutorial was fun for you. Hope you learned a lot of stuff. You can find, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And you'll find this and other cool videos and bugs on my website at www.custom-tied.com. That's CUSTOM-TIED.com. Have a splash. Don't forget the dash. Happy tying!